After months of grinding tape, we're dropping our official top 25 NFL draft big board, and there's no QB at number 1.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's the director of scouting with the Draft Network in 2019, national champion with the LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen of the day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network in America. It's all because of you. Our official big board is dropping today, pre-combine, guys. So you're getting it right before we make our trip to Indianapolis for the NFL Scouting Combine next week. We're getting our top 25, and we're breaking down the key takeaways. Where did the quarterbacks land? How many receivers do we have? Is there a climbing offensive lineman that you need to know about? We're going to talk about all that on today's show. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Keith, let's talk about the quarterbacks, man. People are going to see this when it drops on social media. Yep. We're going to drop the graphic on social media, and they're going to see two quarterbacks in our top 25. Yeah, we're going to start with number 1 first before we get into the spicy decision we made. But Fernando Mendoza coming in at number 4. Keith, let's talk about it. Let's talk through it for those wondering, how's QB1 he's the number 1 quarterback. Quarterback's the most important position in sports. How is he at number 4, Keith?
Yeah, no, and I think this is good to have this overarching conversation, right? When you look at this, is that when you're doing a big board, right? And as we put this big board together, big boards is important to decipher the difference between big boards and mock drafts, right? Mm-hmm. So mock drafts are what you think would happen, right? In the NFL space, or what you're predicting to happen, or what you think should happen, right? Yep. But when you're talking about big boards, this is purely off of grades, right? So this is like you're trying your best not to compare apples to oranges. You're trying to compare apples to apples, right? And it could be difficult because you're talking about different positions. So I think with us having Fernando Mendoza at number 4, the word I would use, I think is appropriate, right? And this is putting into context of who we believe Fernando Mendoza to be on both sides of the spectrum. And you've been a Fernando Mendoza guy since maybe June, right? Like right. It's been a while, right? It's been a while. But understanding that we say, every draft class is not created the same, right? So Fernando is not appropriate to say, okay, cool, the number 1 the best quarterback in every single draft should be the best player in every single draft. That's not true, right? I think a couple episodes ago was that last week, and we got into the 2011 class, right? And we was talking about quarterbacks. Cam Newton was in that class and a couple other guys, right? But you know who was in that class? J.J. Watt, right? Like those, so when we look
Von Miller,
Von Miller, right? Like those guys were better than Cam Newton, right? But it was the position situation of, okay, the Carolina Panthers needed a quarterback, right? But Von Miller, J.J. Watt, looking in retrospect, were better players, right? And they could have been better players then and better players now. As far as the conversation. So Fernando, I think is good. Like behind the guys that he's behind, I think it is appropriate, and we ranked it appropriate. And
I agree completely. And I want to list off of the people who we have above him. Caleb Downs, number 1, safety out of Ohio State. Rueben Bain Jr., defensive end, defensive lineman from Miami. And number 3 is Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. And so we have Fernando Mendoza, then it's like Arvell, Reese, David Bailey, and our first tackle is Spencer Fano at number 7. So yeah, 100%. Just because you're the QB1 doesn't mean you're the top rated guy in the class. Will you go number 1 overall? Yes, because the team that typically is picking number 1 overall needs a quarterback 9 times out of 10, or it's a team that picked a quarterback the previous year and like everything else is a mess. Like that was it Childish Gambino, that meme of him walking into the room with like pizza and everything's on fire. And it was like, Okay, yeah, that's it could be that type of situation. But Fernando Mendoza still a big believer in him, still one of the better prospects in the class. But just because there's positional value tax come draft time doesn't add into our big board. But Keith, we're going to drop down to the back end of the top 25.
Yep.
At number 25, we snuck in there quarterback out of Alabama, Ty Simpson. And guys, if you've not been listening, if you're not an everydayer, number one, what are you doing? Let's fix that. Convert yourself, right? Let's fix that problem. Number two, if you are an everydayer, you've heard us talk about Ty Simpson multiple times on this show, all college football season and even after the season. We're not out on Ty Simpson. We still believe that Ty Simpson, number one, has a shot to be a back end of the first round quarterback. And number two, we think he still can be a very good starting quarterback in the NFL. So when you look at Ty Simpson, Keith, at number 25, I think use the word appropriate. I think it is appropriate to put Ty Simpson there, right? I think Ty Simpson is still one of the better prospects in this class. Yes, you got to deal with the tale of the two tapes. But here's the thing. We criticize that last 4 games, and we hold that to such high regards of the regular season. Like, man, he didn't play great the last month of the season. But that's like 4 games compared to 8 to 9 really good games. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you can't I think if you put 4 stones on the scale, the 8 stones are going to outweigh it. I'm sorry. I think that's just math. Like, it just is what it is. So I'm going to roll with what I saw in the 8 games and understand that, hey, there's a lot of issues and fundamental issues and roster issues at Alabama. This is probably one of the worst Alabama teams I've ever watched since Nick Saban took over. Like, bar none. Offensive line.
Nick Saban took over, but and then not killing the boys.
Not killing the boy there. So
and I agree with you, and that's why I said last year, right? I talked about that with Jalen Milroe, right? And it's not about making excuses; it's about simply what's in the draft, right? And we always had this conversation of, okay, you tell me the first round running back that Alabama has. You tell me the first round wide receiver
probably goes undrafted, to be honest with you,
right? And so I agree with you with that way. And with Ty Simpson, I think it's about this too, is that when we did these rankings, it's also about who's behind him, right?
Yeah.
And in the sense of the fact of, okay, we're going to put them at 50 or 60, and we like, hey, these players, they have concerns too, right? Like that's the thing that it lines up, in my opinion, that Ty Simpson being ranked where he is in our draft and on our draft board, because that's where he falls as far as talent with the rest of these guys, right? Like he's not just because he played, and I think it's the tax the other way, right? Like how we talked about Fernando Mendoza should be number one because he's a quarterback. I think with Ty Simpson, the conversation is, oh man, he played bad, right? He's a quarterback, and like, man, if you don't play great, you can't be in this conversation at all. And I think what we need to get to is that none of these guys are perfect prospects, right? Like none of these quarterbacks. Like, remember Caleb Williams coming out and the concerns that people had about Caleb, right? He had to grow, right? He had to be in a situation and grow and develop and become that guy. And he's still not the perfect quarterback, right?
No.
And that was one of the quote unquote generational talents we had. Trevor Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so it was like 6 years to see him like really become the guy.
6 years to be okay, right? Like it hasn't even been great. It's 6 years to be solid, right? So I look at Ty and the things that he's able to do. I'm looking at the rest of the class and I'm like, nah, like I think he's a quarterback that should fall in between the 20s and 30s, ranked amongst the rest of these guys. Because if we go down the list of, some of these corners that's on the board, right? And I see, like consistent, like even with us, right? Like let's say a Jamal McCoy, right? Like, okay, cool. Put Jamal McCoy at top 10. He hasn't played the entire season. Like when do we get into that conversation of like
how high can he be? He hasn't played in over a calendar year. You know what I mean? Like we don't know how healthy he is. We won't find that out till next week, Keith. But I mean, to your point, at the end of the day, I think with Ty Simpson, and I'll say this is what I want to say. Ty, everybody, it feels like deja vu all over again. I'm telling you, y'all setting yourselves up because you did it last year. You hated Tyler Shuck. Ty Simpson is this year's Tyler Shuck. That hated quarterback prospect that people look past the good things he did well, the accuracy, full field reads, the checking protections, making calls at the line of scrimmage, all the things that translate well to the NFL.
Throwing a ball in the middle of the field.
Middle of the field, accuracy, ball placement, athleticism. you ignore those things and say, well, teams figured out how to defend. No teams figured out how to defend Alabama. And that's what they figured out. They figured out how to defend Alabama. Don't let this be another Tyler Shuck situation where he falls into a good spot. He doesn't have to start right away. And once he gets on the field, now you start to see what we've been seeing since the start of the season.
Yep, I agree with DP. We talked quarterbacks, man. Let's continue to talk some skill positions, right? Some quarterbacks, some running backs that we have ranked really high, and flesh out the reasons why these guys fell in this order as we introduce our first rendition of our 2026 NFL Draft Big Board.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? Well, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn your dreams into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. And here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. And I love that futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or grab a conference title, it adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can you pick cash, but you can also win, and it can also send you to the NBA Finals. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on any NBA future and get entered for a chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Breaking down more takeaways from our initial 2026 NFL Draft Big Board of our top 25. That's what we're getting into next. But thanks for being an everydayer with us. If you want the show ad-free, check out the Everydayer Club and consider subscribing. Go to LockedOnNFLDraft.supercast.com. Keith, you said skill positions. Man, looking here, let's talk about some of these wide receivers, Keith. Like we said in the summer. Remember I came on here, I said, man, people were tweeting out that this wide receiver class was no good. And I'm like, what are y'all watching? Like, this was before the season. I'm like, this is a good group of dudes, and it's got depth. Well, Keith, when we fast forward, it's like this class got more depth than we thought it was going to have, right? Yeah. Like, there's going to be some impact guys that you can get that's going to be multifaceted on day 3. And our first receiver, let's kind of run through where the receivers are for us and how many we have in our top 25. At number 11, we have Jordan Tyson, who we just broke down. What was it, yesterday or 2 days ago? Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State, he's at number 11. Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State, he's at 12. Then at number 16, not pick 16, but number 16 overall, we have Mekhi Lemon out of USC. We have at 22, Casey Concepcion, and then at 24, Denzel Boston. Casey Concepcion for Texas A&M, Denzel Boston out of Washington, Keith. When you look at this, man, it's for teams that need receiver, this is abundance of riches. Because you can get some guys in round 1 that can step in and be some day 1 impact players.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you look at just where they're sprinkled in, right? You're talking about starting with number 11 and through 25. So that's a concentrated spot for wide receivers, right? And even if you portray that, and I think about NFL teams that need wide receivers, you're in a really good position, right? And I think, DP, I wouldn't be surprised, and this would be my bold prediction, if more wide receivers sneak in to our top 25 by the time we're done, just from the post-combine numbers, right? Like what does Zachariah Branch run? Like if he runs a 4.3, is there a conversation?
Chris Brazzell from Tennessee.
Chris Brazzell, right? If Deion Burks puts down a sub 4.4 40-yard dash time, they're like, wait, this guy's pretty doggone good. Let's go back to the film. So I think that there could be a lot of conversation. With Carnell Tate, DP, I want to ask you, he's at 12 right now. And as we flush through this conversation, do you think there's an opportunity for him to move up for us? Like as we continue to flush out, like what are some of the things you're going to want to see from Carnell Tate to be able to elevate him in our big board?
Yeah, I think, again, it's just depending on guys working at the combine. If he decides to work out, Keith, I think the athletic testing will be big for him. Right?
What's a great number for him? Or like what's a number and you're like, you know what, stamp it, I'm elevating him?
Anything lower than 4.48. If he's 4.48 or lower, man, hey, go ahead and move him up. Like I truly, I think he's probably around that 4.48 to 4.5 range. He's a long strider. You know, this is the type of guy that if you give him a free release, one of his strides eats up some of the smaller receivers 2 strides, right? Because he can stride out and open up, you know, and take big steps and eat up grass and eat up cushion. But I think if he runs a 4.48 or lower, oh yeah, I think the teams are going to be like, you know what? It's crazy because we see him take the top off the defense on film, but we have to wait till the 40 time. Like, can you actually take the top off the defense? We watched you do it all, like, you know, all season at Ohio State when they gave you the opportunity. So if he goes ahead and puts on a good time, 4.48 or lower, man, yeah, he's going to move himself up, Keith. And I think, to be completely honest, I think this is a chance. Like, the Tennessee Titans got themselves they're in a predicament because you got Cam Ward, who down the stretch of the season started to flash that number 1 overall pick potential. You're like, okay, we got to figure out how to get some things around you better, right? We got to improve the defense, things like that. We got to get you some more weapons. At number 4, do we go Arvell, Reese, or Rueben Bain, or do we take a Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson, or do we take that wide receiver? So I think Carnell Tate, because I think the medicals he did have a leg injury this year, so you want to make sure it's nothing that's going to linger for him either, right? I think the healthiest wide receiver with no issues this year was Mekhi Lemon. Him and Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston. I think those guys had a full clean bill of health. But yeah, Carnell Tate can absolutely move up if he runs well. I think for a guy like him, Keith, I wonder what that was the L cone, the 3 cone. I wonder what that's going to look like for him, for a tall, long leg guy, because he's got good short area quickness. He's fluid. He can sink and drive. I wonder what that's going to look like for him at the combine.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. The testing is going to be important because I think it's going to, I think it's going to determine if people are going to go with the T. Higgins comp or people are going to go with the AJ Green comp, right? For Carnell Tate. Like
that was one of my comps, Keith. I was just like, I can't do it because AJ was so good after the catch. I was like, Tate, I need to see you get busy.
Yeah,
what did Jalen Hurts tell Mooch?
You know what?
Let's freaky open field.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do a Carnell Tate breakdown sometime
for sure.
soon to give to the people and talk about both the pros and cons. Lastly, before we transition, the wide receiver I want to talk about, DP, is Denzel Boston. Because I don't think he gets discussed enough. And I'm gonna make a bold statement on here and just throw it out there and people gonna feel how they feel about it, right? But there's not a big separation between him and Rome Odunze, in my opinion, coming out of the draft. When I watched both of those guys, maybe Rome had a little bit more top end speed, but I actually think Denzel has more foot fire initially. Like quickness.
He plays bigger too.
Yeah, and he plays bigger. I wouldn't, you get what I'm saying? Like I think that there are some things that, if you do the tail of the tape, right? When there's potential 2 boxers, even when they're comparing teams and like, oh, who has the better quarterbacks, who has the better running back? Like there's some things in Denzel Boston's game that I think he does better than Rome. And the reason that I'm bringing that up is because I think Denzel Boston is not talked about as a potential top 10 pick, right? And he's been slowly creeping up draft boards, right? It was I feel like me and you were discussing him and not a lot of people. And then people started saying, like, hey, okay, this guy can be a late second rounder, right? And then keep going. It's like, oh, he can be a top of the second round, late first rounder. But I think there's some actual skill set. And so putting this big board together, and I asked you that question with Carnell Tate, he's my guy that I think he puts down good measurables as far as testing numbers. There are going to be a lot of raised eyebrows to be like, wait, why don't we like him again? Right.
Right. No, 100%.
That's going to be the conversation. So
I like
Denzel Boston is that guy that I think in our top 25 that I'm like, you know what? Can he continue to elevate up this draft board?
I'll go bold take for bold take, Keith. If he tests well, especially coming in measurement, right? He hits that, I think he's listed like 6'3", like 215, 220, somewhere in there. If he hits those thresholds, right now he's at 24. And he comes in and runs in that anywhere between 4.45 to 4.5 flat. He jumps 37 to 40 inches. He's fluid. That 10-yard split is good. Like he looks fluid running his routes. I can see him not just rising up our big board, Keith, but I got a draft spot in mind. I think that absolutely will be in play. Pick 14, the Baltimore Ravens. Yes,
Mhm.
they need guard, but they have needed a big body playmaker
Yeah.
for the entirety of Lamar Jackson's career. You won a Super Bowl when you got Joe Flacco and Quan Bolden, a guy who didn't matter if a cornerback was on him. He came down with every single contested big boy grab, which allowed everybody else to play their roles. You bring a Denzel Boston into that offense. You got Mark Andrews. I think Isaiah Lockley is going to get priced out. He'll probably sign somewhere else in free agency. Zay Flowers gets to be your chain mover slot. Rashad Bateman gets to be your Z receiver. You got yourself a prototypical X now. And that's something you've never really had for Lamar to say, hey, he's down there somewhere wide receiver. If Denzel Boston tests well, I think 14 is a sneaky spot for him to go high and might jump some of the guys that we might have graded a little bit higher or projected to go a little higher him at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I agree with that. DP, let's do this, man. We've talked quarterbacks, right? We've talked the skill positions. We've showed them love, right? It's time to show the trenches some love, right? I want to go through a couple of these guys, whether that's offensive line, defensive line, where they're ranked, and if they can elevate themselves, right? And why we have some names maybe higher than what other people have them, right? So let's get into that conversation coming up next.
Welcome to the 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft. We're looking at every aspect of the draft to let you know which tasty flavors are the best and which just might be sleepers. The board is set, the flavors are ready, and only one is going to take the top spot. 5-Hour Energy has a wide variety of flavors and something for everyone. Their shots give you a boost of energy with zero sugar. And they have a lot of up-and-coming flavors and innovations planned, like grape. It gives you that Concord grape flavor similar to grape juice or grape candy. It's soft, rounded sweetness in the flavor. Smooth, almost syrupy-like fruit profile with a consistent, straightforward taste. And you're going to love the classic purple candy style finish that it provides and it offers. So it's very simple, guys. You want to go ahead and dive in and find your new favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today in Everyday Shot, for being our everydayers. Getting into the trenches, Keith, and I want to start at 17. And I'm telling you right now, Keith, if he goes to the combine, if he does what I think he could do and show out at the combine, he's going to make it for a very interesting OT1 conversation, and that is Georgia's Monroe Freeling. 6'7", 315 pounds. I think I can't remember the exact number, but I think it's like a 80+ inch wingspan, I think is what I was told. Earlier this week, somebody told me, and I was like, I think they said, might have said 83 inch wingspan. I'm like, hey, 6'7" with that length and his movement skills. He moves laterally. He's a quick athlete, quick-footed guy. Even though he's 315, he's built well. Like, he's not some soft in the midsection type of guy. He's built very proportionate, and twisting stunts he handles. Speed rushers he handles. He's got power in his hands, and he anchors well. I want to see him get a little bit better in moving guys off the ball in the run game and displacing some dudes. But I think you can get better with that with the right coach and the emphasis on it. This is a guy for me. Our top tackle, for those who don't know, Spencer Fano, right tackle out of Utah, is at number 7. Francis Mauigoa, right tackle from Miami, is at number 9. And I believe Monroe is OT3 for us. He's at number 17.
Yes, yep.
Kid, I love Fano, love Mauigoa, but we know positional value. Everybody loves the left tackle, the blindside protector. I think if he goes and shows out, interviews well, does all the things right at the combine next week, he could walk out of there as almost betting odds favorite as OT1 for this class.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the partial is the reason is the measurables, right? And I'm not talking about the 40 time. I'm talking about their actual physical height, weight, arm length conversations where you get into, you kind of just hit on his wingspan. But the reason that I think is even more important than usual in this draft is because there's actual questions about Spencer Fano and Francis Mauigoa as far as where's their arm length, right? Like, both of those guys are people that people talk about potentially can it be guards, right? Like, do we kick them inside and let them play, let them be guards? So I think even more important than usual, the arm length measurables, because the guys that we have ranked above him are guys that is going to be a conversation. Like, I think that their measurables are going to matter a lot towards their draft positioning, and where they are now, it might not be where they're finished. But Monroe Freeling is a new name that's introduced to the draft community, right? And everybody's like, okay, who is this Georgia offensive tackle? And I tell everybody, like, listen, the reason that we're kind of in this space and in this state is just because things like with the transfer portal, right? Like, things happen, right? So you're probably going to get more and more late identifiers as far as these prospects, because you're trying to flush through preseason what you believe, during the season what you see, and then postseason, like, wait, Georgia does have who's that offensive tackle at Georgia, right? And the reason I'm saying that is because I don't want people to think that this is a forced thing. No, this young man is talented, right? Like, there's a lot of tools in the tool shed for him, and I agree with you. Like, to elevate it, right? It's like, okay, going offensive tackle one, like, and then once you a left tackle, anything's on the board as far as you going pick 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and maybe pick one that's out the way because of Fernando Mendoza, but 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all on the board. And well, I guess the Jets too, right? Because the Jets have
they got
Fashionable and Fashionable, But I think it can start as soon as it get to pick 3 is like, what's going to be the conversation, or do teams trade up to get the bookend left tackle? That's another conversation that
you got the Cleveland Browns, who are in top 5 or whatever they're picking, that top 10. They need a left tackle. They could go tackle and then try to get a receiver at 26 or 20, wherever they're picking that from, from that trade last year with the Jags. Keith, I just listen, like, I'm glad you let people know we are not forcing Monroe Freeling on you. We're letting you know that this dude, he's young, he's a little green, but the ceiling is high for him. And when you talking about having a bookend pass protector, he's one of the, and I'm gonna speak to my gamers, for those who've played NCAA 26 and you play the dynasty mode and you're recruiting tackles, they're archetypes. You get that pure pass protector who you got to build up his run stuff, but his passing grades, top notch. You know for a fact, out the gate, he's going to protect my quarterback. That's what I look at from a Monroe Freeling. Like, you know what? Let's get him with a good offensive line coach. Hey, once you latch, strain, run your feet, and let's move that edge defender out the way. Let's gallop technique, duo block, get to that second level, pin off and seal off that linebacker. Let's improve that run game and the run game physicality with him. I think you can do that with the right coaching. And I think there was I saw an offensive lineman that I follow. I can't remember the name, but they were talking about how O-line play in college football is not as physical as it used to be. And I think somebody brought up a good point about how,
you know what? I think it was actually, might have been David Pollock, defensive lineman.
He brought it up.
Work College Football Live, ESPN, and he was just talking about how he's not seeing physical offensive linemen.
Yeah, I think, and then it was, I think Nate Tice quote tweeted over at the I think it was with The Athletic, and no, he's with Yahoo Sports, I think. But he came out, he quote tweets like, he believes that the tempo in college football now has decreased some of the physicality because guys, it's so much more tempo. You got a lot of teams going fast paced, like, hey, we get 3 yards, we going no huddle and different things like that. He thinks he believes that played a part in it. I said, you know what, that actually makes a lot of sense why guys aren't just road grading anymore, because teams aren't huddling as much and stamina and everything else. So I definitely wanted to highlight Monroe Freeling, Keith. But any defensive lineman in this group that we wanted to highlight, definitely got your boy in that I wanted to bring up, Zion Young, man. Keith, and it's crazy because when I was watching him, I heard your voice in the back of my head, and I was looking at him, and I was like, he was lined up inside, and he hit like a nasty swim move over the guard, and he got right in the backfield. I was like, wait a minute. I feel like I've seen this before in this same. I was like, darn it, he's with the Cardinals. I was like, Keith I think it's Darius Robinson.
Darius Robinson. Yep.
I was like, that's what Keith was talking. I was like, yo, like this dude is built very similar, but I think he can actually play on the edge compared to Darius having to play that D tackle spot. Testing is going, like, if he tests well at his frame, yeah, he's going to make a strong case for a top 25.
No, and he's one of the players, I guess, that I'm proud of that we put inside the top 25, right? Because I think even though we've seen at the Senior Bowl, right, like him perform well, and I think he even won like the best defensive lineman at the
Yeah.
Senior Bowl on his team, right? He's still, I think, flying under the radar a little bit, right? As far as wait, this guy is pretty doggone good, and he's well rounded in what he brings. I'll say this, that I'm a back up what you said, right, by what I seen in person. That I agree with you. The mentality part is very similar to Darius Robinson, right? As far as the run game, they're gonna bring it, they're gonna lock, peek, and shed, they're gonna heavy-handed, right? There's an element of quickness to them. The thing that I agree with you on is that the pass rush upside is a little bit higher because I think he's a little bit lighter too.
Yeah.
If I believe
he's
that
more fluid too. More fluid.
Yeah, he's more fluid. Like Darius Robinson floats in that kind of 6'4.5", 275. I think Zion Young is more the 6'4", 260.
260, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of get what I'm saying. So
he's built more like a defensive end than
like a true
three tech.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, a true defensive end. So I'm proud of that. And then real quick before we wrap up, the Akheem Mesidor, having him inside our top 25. He's another guy that I'm glad we are where we are with him.
Yeah,
because I wouldn't be surprised if when we wrap this up, we like, okay, just true hard hat, tough football players. Where does he rank? And I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up inside our top 15 because we're gonna have to, and I'm saying we talking about the entire draft community. I know we will, right? But we're gonna have to get away from, oh well, he's age and he's not as good as Rueben Bain, right? And the sense of the fact of is that we feel like he's not as good as Rueben Bain, so we have to put an entire gap, right?
Right.
And it's like, no, it could very well be possible that Rueben Bain is edge 1 and he's edge 3. Like that's okay,
legit.
Yeah,
they learn from the same defensive line coach.
I tweeted this out, right? Like when I was talking about Arvell, Reese, and Sonny Styles, and people were like, well, what are you talking about? Because I made the comment. I was like, look, Sonny Styles and Arvell Reese, in my opinion, are a lot closer from an upside perspective. Like the same credit that we give Arvell Reese for range of motion, fluidity, pass rush upside. I think there's a lot there with Sonny Styles, and people are trying to like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, like cut the tape on, right? Watch him. And
Styles is a better linebacker.
Styles is the better linebacker, and they should be a lot closer, right? Like so, and I think that in the context of it, and I'm saying this because I feel the same way about Akheem Mesidor. If Rueben Bain goes pick 3 out, like there shouldn't be a surprise if Akheem Mesidor goes pick 12 or pick 10, right? And vice versa. If Arvell Reese goes pick 2, there shouldn't be surprised if Sonny Styles goes pick 10 because I think that those guys are also that talented.
Yeah, and I'll close it out with, to your point, we have Akheem Mesidor at 21. I was on Locked On Bills on their squad show on Tuesday with Joe Marino and Jeremy, their hosts, and we talked about edge rushers, and I made this statement: Akheem Mesidor, because of the age thing, people ageist, you guys are terrible people for this. But like when it came on to Akheem Mesidor, he's the perfect edge rusher for teams who are trying to win right now. The Detroit Lions, the Buffalo Bills, the Chargers, those teams that won a championship now, you got your quarterback and everything else, you feel like you can win the title, he's your pick. If you're a team that's 6 years from now, no, you don't pick him because he'd be out of his prime. But teams that want to win right now, the Baltimore Ravens at 14, if they picked him, I would have no problem with it because they need a guy. He's he's in that bucket of just pure natural pass rushers. Him, Cassius Howell, who we have at 19, and I would probably say David Bailey are my top 3 of just pure pass rush guys who have a plan, hands, athleticism, who can get to the quarterback. Akheem Mesidor, 25 or not, he can play for my team any day.
Yeah, and I'll say this to even talk about the age thing. I believe Myles Garrett is 30 years old and just broke the sack record, right? So we have to. Yeah, and defensive player of the year, right? So definitely be a conversation about the age thing moving forward. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Guys, coming up on Monday's show, we get ready for the Combine. We're going to preview some of the players on the offensive side of the ball that you need to be watching. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.